Good morning, beautiful people. It is Friday here at Woodsmore, and so we are going live with actually something a little bit different today. I have nothing to sell, mainly because I'm very overwhelmed and prepping for a vendor event next week. And I thought it'd be interesting or maybe fun to come on live and share some of the reasons why I do not miss teaching in the public education world. And I want to preface this with the purpose. So if you are getting into teaching, maybe you probably shouldn't listen to this, but I actually want this to help you to appreciate and understand a teacher's life, a daily life, some of the maybe struggles, trials that they go through, and just kind of give you a better understanding or glimpse into their life. So that's kind of the purpose. Before I do that, I had something laid on my heart yesterday, actually, and there's just a lot going on in my tiny little town, just with diagnosis and loss and lots of medical issues. And it's just very heavy right now. My community is very close. When you live in a small town, that's just kind of something natural that like everybody knows everybody. And so you feel pretty close. And so when something bad happens to someone, it just really kind of impacts everybody. And just yesterday I heard this and I was like, gosh, that's a mind shift change. And it was, instead of saying it's all in God's plan, we need to switch it and say God has a plan for it all. Because if we say it's all in God's plan, especially to the person that's not really a believer or questioning, um, in denial, or just not really on board with this whole religious thing, and if God's really real, then if we were to say it's all in God's plan, and then I've been sitting here the last hour looking at a fundraiser that I have going on for a little boy that was diagnosed recently that is fighting. And then I have another fundraiser that I'm getting ready to launch for a young mom who is battling stage 4 cancer, breast cancer. And I'm sitting here thinking, if I were not a believer and that Christian told me that, it's all in God's plan, he's got a hand in this, and then you tell me that a young mom with 3 kids is battling stage 4 cancer, then that person without a faith might be like, well, how in the world would a loving God that created everything, created all of this, why would he create cancer? Why would he allow this to happen? And it's a valid question, right? It's a valid concern. And so if we flip that and we say God has a plan for it all, then in the sorrow, in the trials, in the depths, in the pit, he's going to pull us through. He's going to get us out of this. He's going to make all of this sorrow for the good of his kingdom and of his name. And that changes it a little bit from God gave you this cancer, gave you this situation to deal with, to you've been dealt this card and God will use it for good. And I was just like, man, that's powerful. So I wanted to start with that. And hopefully that's an encouragement to you, because if there's a lot like this going on in my town, I just know that you guys have a prayer list that's overwhelming as well. So let's get into the meat and potatoes today, which is the top reasons why I do not miss teaching in the public education world. And if you would, maybe tag a teacher right now to show your appreciation. To do that, if you're on Facebook, just put like the little @ in the comments. Say hey to me now too if you're on, so I can see comments. But just put the @ and then start typing their name, and you can tag them that way and just say thank you for being a teacher, or thank you for being awesome, something like that, because they are going to resonate with these top 10 for sure. Now, I chose these 10 that were like not so political because there was some things that I did not love about the education world that can be a little bit more political. So I decided to kind of stay away from that. So, hey, Miss Debbie, thank you for joining. Krista Cochran. Oh, that's not her name anymore. Morgan, she is an amazing teacher. Shelby, she teaches in Arizona, such an amazing teacher. And Blake, I've got a lot of family members alone that are in this world. And so I for sure know their struggles sometimes too. And I feel like I can share this from experience, obviously, but like with the deep intention to create awareness that, like, man, they're doing the dirty work out there sometimes. So here's number one. Number one, we're going to start light. I do not miss that I cannot go to the restroom anytime I want to. I want to paint this picture for you. Now, I'm talking from experience, so I'll just kind of use my world that I lived in, knowing that times and situations and whatever can be a little bit different based on where you teach. But I had kids come in my classroom starting at 7:40 a.m. Okay. And then, of course, you've got some breaks throughout the day, but our day ended around 3:30, I think, when I finally left, because we went to a 4-day school week. So throughout my entire day, I had 3 times to use the restroom. 3 times. I want your bladder to just think about that. Because it's me in the classroom full of 20 plus kids, right? And so you can't just leave that group of kids by themselves. Lord only knows what would happen if they're not supervised. And then you're going to be drugged through the trenches if you leave them unsupervised. Let's just put that out there. So from 7:40, when you're drinking your coffee, till my schedule was 10. So it totally depends on when your recess is, when they go to specials, if you're a high school teacher, when you might have a break. But for that period of time, I was in my classroom. There was no leaving. And good luck trying to find a teacher that can come relieve you for a second to go use the restroom, right? There's no one there. The principal was like, it felt like miles down the hallway. They're busy. Like, no one's coming to save you. Isn't that what Mel says in her book? Yeah. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to allow you to go to the restroom. So then your next opportunity is maybe during recess. However, you are on recess duty, talking from experience, and for me, there were 5 other teachers out on recess duty. So you kind of do okay, you going first? Are you going first? I'm about to blow. I'm pregnant. I need to go first. So you take turns using the restroom. And that's what you do. Then your next opportunity is maybe during your lunchtime, but you have to, for your 25-minute lunch break, that's down the line, you have to get your kids to the lunch line and make sure they're supervised before you can leave. You have to go get your lunch, maybe warm it up, use the restroom, that's your next opportunity, and sit down and chill for a hot second and eat your lunch, all within 25 minutes. And then you might have another chance to use the restroom later on in the day around your second recess. Again, that's more elementary kids, right? Preschool teachers might have a little bit more leeway, but I'm painting you the picture here. You don't have the freedom to just go use the restroom when duty calls. Okay, that's number one. Number two, teachers sign contracts every year. So if you're giving your contract, then like, woohoo, I get a job again next year. Now, if you're a good teacher, you really don't ever have to worry about it, right? But you sign a yearly contract. In my contract, and I know that this is very common for a lot, especially in the state of Missouri, there is fine little print somewhere down the line that says other duties as assigned. What does that mean? That means that if you are asked to do a specific duty, maybe that is arrive a little bit early to do drop-off duty, maybe that is you have to do one gate, like sports event a year. There's a wide variety. Like, think about school events, think about school things. There's a lot that happens, and people need to be there to take the money, to do the things, to supervise, whatever. And so there's in fine little print that says other duties as assigned. Now, do you think that they get overtime pay for that? Absolutely not. Do you think that a lot of times there is a extra stipend, is what most of them call it, or just like a set amount of pay because you stayed after school and did that basketball gate duty? No. And the fine little print as other duties as assigned, that basically means, like, for an elementary teacher, 2 nights out of the year, you have to stay for like concerts, things like that. Or you have to stay late for parent-teacher conference. That is in the other duties as assigned. And so you're not getting extra money. It's within your contract, within your salary, that 2-3 nights out of the year, you'll be there till 7, 8 o'clock at night. Okay. Now, yes, there's salary pay. And so that's very common if you are in a world where you have a salary. However, the other duties as assigned can really be abused in some districts because it's in your contract and you signed it, and I need your help here doing this thing. Now, teachers are just made differently. They just are. And I loved it in the 11 years that I taught. I really did. Okay. Hey, Miss Kim, thanks for joining us. And so they have a heart that's different than others. They have a heart to serve. Most of them are not there for the paycheck, because if they were, then they would leave day 2, because you just don't make a lot. And most people know that going into the field, and they know that when they sign the contract, right? And so they are there because they love kids, they want to make an impact, and they just love what they do. And so some people are okay with the other duties as assigned because they want to serve, they want to give back to their community. And that's all great, fine, and dandy. But I don't miss it because it can be abused. Shauna, I really need you to stay after to do this. Can you do this? Can you do this? And eventually, because teachers a lot of times can't say no, and because they have that heart that they want to serve, they get burned out real quick. So that was number 2. Number 1, you can't use the restroom as much as you want or need. Number 2, other duties as assigned in your contracts. Number 3, split households. My goodness, by the time I left, I would honestly say in my 11 years, my first year, I had divorced parents, don't get me wrong. But by year 11, it was at least 50-50. I would almost venture to say more. When I first started, there was always a kiddo with divorced parents, but in a group of 21 out of 20, maybe not too bad. By my last year, I guarantee you half of the students had divorced parents. And it was very tough because inevitably you as the teacher are kind of in the middle. And it's so toxic. It's so hard because a lot of times they don't get along. So for parent-teacher conference, a lot of times you have to have 2 separate conferences, which is unfortunate. We'll just say that. When there's an email, you have to make sure that they're both on that. A lot of times through the court system, they have like a parent plan, and you have to be sure that you follow that to the T. Most of the times you have to give 2 copies of everything so that they can go to both households, so everyone's informed. It's a lot. And where that's kind of the normal anymore, it was so sad to see, because the kid's always in the middle of it, and then you kind of get in the middle of it all because especially if they don't co-parent very well, but they're just blaming one another, and you're kind of like, well, I don't know, that's not necessarily true, or and sometimes you're like, I'm staying out of this. Y'all can just, go at it in this email, and I'm just going to stay out of it completely. It's tough. It's very, very tough. And it's things that teachers don't necessarily talk about because, again, it's just kind of how society is these days. But I do not miss it one bit. So that was 3. Number 4, I've kind of already touched on this, but a 20-minute lunch break. I said this earlier, within your 20 minutes, that's your opportunity, maybe your second time to use the restroom, and you got to make sure that there's no line at the restroom because you don't want to use the kids' restroom, right? You want to use the ones in the teacher's lounge or whatever. But that's also when 3 other teachers probably have their only opportunity to use the restroom. So you're kind of waiting in line. You got to go get your lunch, possibly walk down a whole hallway, get your lunch, get it warmed up, sit down, take a chill pill for a second. And by the time you know it, you've got 5 minutes to eat before you have to go pick them back up to get them to their next thing. It goes very fast, and it is not a very long time at all for a teacher to get some composure, because it's a long day with 20 kids all day, every day, depending on, what grade you teach, or if you're in preschool or whatnot. It's a lot. Number 5, the amount of hours. I would love to know. Actually, I don't know that I would love to know. The amount of hours that I spent at the copy machine alone is an unreal amount. Now, by the time I left, we were doing a lot online, but even so, you still have a lot of copies to make, right? Now, some districts have amazing angels that come in and they will help make your copies for you and whatever, but most teachers, again, talking from experience, kind of talking for myself, but many teachers are type A and controlling. Ask me how I know. Most teachers are type A. They are organized. They kind of want everything like this. That's why they're good teachers. But they're also controlling. And here's what I mean by that. If you don't copy it the exact way I want it and put it in the booklet or staple it correctly or whatever, it's just not going to be right. It's just not going to work for me. And so what do they want to do? They're like, I'll just do it myself. I'll just stay after a little bit longer, other duties as assigned. And I'll wait in that copy room line and I will do it myself because it's just easier sometimes that way. Now, there are some teachers, especially the male teachers, that are like, please, dear goodness, will you just do this for me? And they loved it. They love it. But the amount of hours that you stand at a copy machine is just something that you don't really think about. And it's a lot. I can promise you that. I do not miss the last day of school. This is number 6. I know you might think, well, that's kind of funny. It doesn't really seem like you like teaching by now. I really did, I promise. I really liked the 11 years I was there. There's so many things that I could make a whole list of things that I did like. But the last day of school is tough. And yeah, like I looked forward to it. Don't get me wrong. Okay, we made it through another school year. Hallelujah. But you have to remember that a teacher, especially elementary, you are basically their second parent, third parent, whatever, for 9 months-ish. You care for them. You hear their excitement. You hear their sorrows. You hear their pain. You see their struggles. You go through life with them for 9 months, give or take. And there's no way to not have a connection with them, right? I thought I wasn't going to get emotional. There's no way to not bond with them, even if they just, I don't know, get on your very last nerve. There are kids like that too. But you still have a connection with them because you've done life with them for so long. And so the last day, it's kind of like, it's over. Like we got to move on. I've got to send you to the next teacher. And it is kind of a weird feeling. It really is, especially when I taught 5th grade for so long. They went to the middle school. And so I really didn't see them as much anymore. And you think like, I have poured my heart and soul and hours and tears into you, because that's what good teachers do. They want them to succeed. They want to see them grow and expand and get smarter and find confidence and find their grit and learn empathy. And there's just so many things that a teacher wants for all their kids. And you carry their burdens. You know what they've went through that year. You know what their family has went through that year. You know the excitement that they had from that cheer competition or the whatever. You know what they got for Christmas that last Christmas because they share everything with you. Because you are like their other mom. How many times was I called mom? A lot. I was only called grandma 2 or 3 times, and that kind of broke my heart, but we got over that. But I was called mom sometimes, and then those boys, when they call you mom, they're like, oh my gosh, I am so embarrassed. It's the best thing ever. But the last day was kind of tough. It really is. And I was not very emotional. Like I was kind of like, okay, bye, But it does still kind of break your heart. There were some teachers, especially the younger, like 2nd, 1st grade teachers. I mean, they're over there just bawling, crying. And I was never like that as a teacher, but there are some that take the last day very hard. And so I don't really miss that. I don't miss that. So number 1, I don't miss not being able to use the restroom. Number 2, other duties as assigned in my contracts, do not miss. Number 3, split households, divorced parents, being in the middle of it. Nope, don't miss it. Number 4, 20-minute lunch. It's awful. Number 5, hours at the copy machine. Number 6, the last day. And here's number 7. Outdoor recess. Now, in the springtime, into the summertime, and even in the fall, not terrible. It's usually really nice. It's kind of a great break for you. You get the vitamin D, you get the sunshine. You're just, you're walking around. You're just making sure the kids are not fighting and they're doing what they're supposed to, not climbing up the slide for the 25th, 1000th time that you've told them not to climb up the slide. It's all fine and dandy. Those winter months, I do not miss. Do not miss it one bit. I mean, because you go out at recess, and that's what you tell the kids, like, we are tough, we're going outside, we're doing this thing. That also means you have to go outside. And so even when you're bundled up and you got all the things, and so you're carrying all that around, remember 20-minute recess, a lot of times you go out to, or 20-minute lunch, a lot of times you go out to recess after that. So within that 20-minute lunch, you also have to finish eating and get all of your layers to be ready to go out to that outdoor recess. Yeah. And some days were just brutal. The wind, no one, even the kids didn't want to be outside, but it was the rule. We go outside when it is above, I think it was feels like, I don't even remember. What was our policy? It was like when the feels like is above 15 or something. Like it wasn't freezing. And it was really brutal. But that second, I promise you, I didn't even put it on here, but I do not miss the emails. I do not miss the emails. The day that you decide not to go out to recess and it was an okay day to go out, you're going to get that email. You're going to get that email from the parent whose kid has ADHD and really needed to be out at recess. And Johnny came home and told me that he didn't get a second recess outside. And I'm just curious why, because I looked at the weather. I'm not making this up, you guys. It happened every time. Every time. I don't miss the emails, but that wasn't even on my list. Number 8, constantly changing curriculum. I just felt like in the 11 years that we tried 8 different programs of something. And just when you feel like this might be working, or I kind of have figured this out and I know how to teach it to the kids, it was like, let's try this reading program instead. And the money and the time and the planning and prepping and training that went into a program, you're just like, ugh. It's stressful. And it's kind of like, is this necessary? I do not miss the constant change of curriculum. And sometimes it was from the state. So when the state would change something, like before I left, they changed social studies curriculum a little bit. And so some things were moving up to the next grade, some things were moving down. And so it was kind of a sit down meeting of like, who's going to teach what, right? So that it kind of went in alignment. And I wasn't teaching the Civil War, and the next year, the next teacher was teaching the exact same thing, right? So you kind of have to have those collaborative meetings, but it just felt like every year there was something changing. And as soon as you're like, okay, I've been teaching 3rd grade for a year now, I think I got this. And they're like, no, you don't, because we're actually going to do this instead. I do not miss that. I really don't. Number 9, going back to recess, the after recess smells. I taught 3rd grade and I taught 5th grade for most of the time. 5th grade, especially. I mean, we've got puberty, we got changing bodies, we've got bigger kids, 20 plus kids in a classroom. Our classrooms were decent size, but even so, like, we're doing life together, if you know what I mean. And so the after recess smells were something that I've actually kind of pushed out of my mind a little bit. Like it's kind of hard to even put into words what that smell really entails. Because if you have kids, you know that like each kid has a different smell in a way, you know, after they've got done sweating and playing and whatever. And so when you add all of those smells together times 20, it is something that I never wish on even my biggest enemy. I don't have enemies, but it's a lot. And then you're stuck in a classroom. You're like, and now we're going to teach math. And no one can focus because the smell is so atrocious that like it's probably unhealthy to be inhaling this. And so I do not miss the after recess, after PE, the after sweatiness smells. It will change your life. It sure will. And number 10, I do not miss packing my classroom every day. So this is pretty common for most districts, most classroom teachers, whether you're in high school, elementary, whatever. But every year you have to pack up your classroom. What does that mean? You're shoving everything in your closets. You are packing everything up in boxes, anything from your books to your school supplies to your lamp over in the corner, your rugs, everything. Because in the summertime, the custodians, cleaning crew, whatever, they come through and will wax the floors and deep clean and, you know, as much as they can, because throughout the year, like they're coming in your classroom and cleaning, But there's just so many computers and wires and books and bookshelves and rugs. There's just so much stuff in a classroom that they can't really deep clean. And so it's very common every summer that floors get waxed, everything gets pulled out into the hallways or whatever, and they are deep cleaning. That also means that at the start of the year, every single year, you have to go in before your contract, before the day one begins, to set up your classroom, because it's all in boxes. It's all thrown back into your classroom because they don't really know where it goes, rightfully so. And you have to go through everything that you boxed up, pull everything out of your closets, and you have to set up your classroom again. Now, some teachers love it because it's, a new year and you get to rearrange, you get to reorganize. But some teachers are like, when they're like in year 25, they're like, I really don't like going into my classroom a week before I have to be there and set up my classroom again and make sure it's all there, and then ask 5 teachers and send 15 emails because I can't find my computer chair and I'm not sure where that shelf went and how that box of books got 5 classrooms down the hallway. I don't know, but somehow it did. And so you're also like trying to find all of your stuff, and I don't miss that. I do not miss that. So a quick recap, and I'm going to remind you why I'm telling you this. Number 1, teachers cannot just use the restroom anytime they want. They have like 3 opportunities a day. Many times in their contracts, they have other duties as assigned. That's number 2, which means that they are asked and required to do things out of their contract, well, within their contract, but they don't really make extra money. Split households, being in the middle of parents that are divorced. It's awful. Do not miss it. Number 4, a 20-minute lunch. That's also to use the restroom, to get your things done, to get your lunch, to warm it up, and in the winter months to get coats and be ready for recess. You have to get a 20-minute lunch in. Number 5, hours at the copy machine. If I had my life at the copy machine back, I just know that I could probably live another life. I know it. Number 6, the last day of school. It's just full of emotions, and I just don't really miss it. Number 7, outdoor recess in the winter. You got to do it. You got to be out there. The kids need to be out there because you don't want that email from the teacher or from the parent, but it's brutal. Number 8, constantly changing curriculum. Right when you think that you've got that plan, that curriculum, that program figured out, they're going to switch it up on you. Number 9, after recess or after PE smells. It's unlike any other smell that you've ever experienced. And number 10, packing the classroom up and then unpacking it at the end and at the beginning of every year. Now, why do I share this with you? Remember, we need good teachers. And there are so many teachers. I was one of them that truly love their job. And I love them for it. And it is a sacrifice. And it is more than just a 7-8 hour day job. They are taking so much work home. They are doing the planning, the training. They are doing a lot in the summer months. Spring breaks, yes, they get that off. Winter break, yes, they get that off. But they are also constantly doing things on top of carrying the burdens of what's going on in their students' lives. Like it's kind of a whole emotional roller coaster. And I share all this with you to give you some insight, perspective, and appreciation for the teachers out there. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I urge you, please, 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 do not be that person that's like, I pay my taxes, that's what they get. Do not be that person. Be the person that, even if it's just a cup of coffee or something, spoil them in some way, because I promise you, even if you don't know it or you don't see it, they are going above and beyond in ways that you'll never understand. And that's just the life of a teacher. So I hope that you take that. Again, tag a teacher or the @ sign and type their name. I would love to encourage them too. My daughter's a special education teacher. And let me just tell you right now, special education teachers are a whole other appreciation. I could go into that. I was classroom teacher the entire time, but wow. I mean, just the amount of meetings and paperwork alone that special education teacher does, out of this world. The amount of time she has hit, bit, choked, cut, scraped. Yep. She carries a walkie to get calls when someone is having behaviors. It worries this mama's heart that she's going to get really hurt one day. I know a specific teacher in my district that, so sad, but she actually had to have a restraining order on a particular student that was very harmful to her. And you guys may not know this, but I actually have my master's degree in administration. And I thank God every day that he pulled me out of that. But I really, truly thought that he was leading me down a path to become an administrator. And I was very close to taking a job. I was very close to going down that path. And just principals alone, administration alone, what they see every day and the calls that they have to make. I was an interim principal for kind of a whole spring into the summer. And it truly is a whole other world. The amount of ridiculous calls that you get from parents that are just complaining to complain, I feel like. And then the other situations where, like, I had to call the resource officer often because some not so great things were happening and I needed backup. Like, I truly needed an officer to come and take care of a kid that was like, we had locked him in the office and he was, destroying everything and basically out of his mind. And yeah, they see a lot. And of course, you have to be mindful of keeping everything confidential too. And so you can't really share a lot of those things with anybody. And so you kind of have to carry it yourself. And it's a very tough world. The funny thing is, the ones that have injured her the most are the ones, yes, it's so true, Kim. I'm telling you, the heart of a teacher is unlike any other. I had a kid, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about him. He was actually shot and killed. I didn't think that I'd get emotional. He was in my 3rd grade class, and he was a spitfire. He was constantly yelling, throwing stuff under my desk, under desks. We were trying to all get to recess, and he was like up under the desk and would not come with me. And he just was dealing with so much at home that when he got to school, it was his safe place, but he didn't know how to be normal because nothing in his life was normal. And so when he got in a room full of kids that it was safe and everyone around him acted differently because he lived in total chaos and everyone in the classroom really didn't. He just didn't know how to deal with it. And so it was every day it was something. And I tell you what, I connected with that kid because what happens as a teacher is like that starts to become your mission. You're like, by the end of this year, I will make an impact in this kid's life. And you get so connected with them that that's exactly what happens. The ones that treat you the worst or that give you the most trouble tend to be the ones that you never forget. It's kind of crazy. Blake! He works in Arizona. I have found that the district that you work for is incredibly important. First 2 districts I worked for here in Arizona made me never want to teach again. Oh, Chandler School District has made me want to work here for the rest of your career. That's a word. It really is. You know, it is so sad that like a lot of people say, I left the school not because of the school, but because of the administration. Or I left the school not because of the school, but because of the parents. I left the school because of, it seems like it's not always the career itself. It's the environment and the culture that you end up not loving because sometimes it can be toxic. It can just be so much and you're not appreciated or you no one has your back. And teaching is not a career that you can do it alone. I don't know why I'm getting emotional again. I mean, I'll always have a heart for it. And my kids' district it's amazing. And I can see a good district from a toxic one or a not so healthy one, just because you've kind of, you've been in the four walls of it. And so, but gosh, it's so sad that teachers leave. Some teachers leave because they're like, well, I can't actually afford to raise my kids in the salary, like that's a real thing too. But so many teachers leave the field because they're not appreciated, or they just don't have the support that they need to actually do their job. And it's very, very unfortunate. So if you want to become a teacher, apply today, because it's an amazing career. It really, truly is. Again, this is not to scare people away, but this is to kind of paint a picture and just give you a little bit more perspective that they're doing the job. They're doing the real work. And the next time you think, well, they have summers off, well, they get a whole, spring break off, and they get Christmas, and they do this, and all they do is just play in arts and crafts all day. That's not the case. That is 1,000% not the case, even though, yes, they might be doing arts and crafts with your kid. And thank God if they do, right? But probably the hour before they dealt with an irate kid, probably the hour before they got an email that was it just makes me want to roll my eyes. Probably the hour before they had to deal with something that was just more than you'll ever know. So take this, remember this, thank a teacher next week, and thank you for joining me today. We will, if you're still with me, next week I will be live to reveal the monthly subscription. And then if you are local to me, if you're local or anywhere close to Harrisburg, Saturday, May 10th in downtown Harrisburg, you can't miss it. There's one four-way. You're going to see all the tents set up at the Lions Club. You cannot miss it. But there are over 60 vendors that I have organized that are going to be at the Lions Club selling all of their cool, amazing products. And it's Mother's Day weekend. So the Saturday before Mother's Day, so you're going to come and you're going to just get all your shopping done for maybe get your teacher gift. You can get Mother's Day gift. You can get end of school year gifts. You can get graduation gifts. There are going to be some amazing vendors, I promise you. So make plans, tell a friend, tell a sister, tell a mom, and get them out to the Lions Club next Saturday, May 10th. It is from 10 to 4. All right. Thank you guys, as always, for joining me. Go think a teacher, tag a teacher, and we'll talk to you later. God bless you guys.